I had exactly $40 left in my account and a smile I forced onto my face every single shift because customers don't tip women who look like they're falling apart. My name is Maya. I'm 26, and 8 months ago, I was working double shifts at a diner in Tulsa, trying to raise my 4-year-old son alone after his father decided fatherhood wasn't for him anymore. Nobody warns you how heavy quiet can get. Not loud, dramatic heavy. The kind that sits on your chest every night after you've put your kid to bed and you're staring at a stack of bills that never seems to shrink. I worked mornings at the diner and evenings cleaning offices downtown. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself that every single day for 2 years. Table 9 was a regular. An older man, always alone, always ordered the same thing. Black coffee and the Tuesday special, whether it was actually Tuesday or not. He never said much beyond thank you and left exact change, no tip. I didn't think much of him, just another face in a diner full of faces. Until the morning, everything changed. I was having one of those days where the exhaustion finally breaks through the smile. My son had a fever that morning, and I'd had to leave him with a neighbor because I couldn't afford to miss a shift. I dropped a tray of dishes near table 9, and instead of the usual silence, I just stood there for a second, hands shaking, fighting back tears in front of a restaurant full of strangers. The old man looked up from his coffee. "Sit down for a second," he said quietly. Not a question. I almost laughed. Sitting down wasn't something waitresses did mid-shift, but something about his voice made me actually pause. "I'm fine," I said, the automatic answer. "You're not," he said, not unkindly, "but you will be. Sit for 1 minute." I don't know why I listened. Maybe because nobody had told me to just stop and breathe in longer than I could remember. I sat for exactly 1 minute. He didn't ask what was wrong. He just let me sit in silence, which somehow felt like the first real kindness anyone had shown me in months. Before he left that day, he did something he'd never done before. He left a $100 bill under his coffee cup, along with a small card. On it, just a name and a phone number. "David Okafor. Call me if you ever want a different life." I almost threw it away. People don't just hand out different lives on the back of business cards. But that night, staring at my son's fever finally breaking, staring at the stack of bills on my counter, I dialed the number anyway. I had nothing left to lose. David answered on the second ring like he'd been expecting the call. Turned out, he wasn't just an old man who liked black coffee. He owned 3 small businesses across the city, including a bookkeeping firm that had just lost an office manager. He didn't offer me charity. He offered me an interview. I almost didn't go. I told myself men like that don't hire waitresses with no degree and a kid at home. But I put on the one blazer I owned and showed up anyway, because staying where I was clearly wasn't working either. The interview lasted 20 minutes. He asked about my son, about the diner, about how I managed 2 jobs and a 4-year-old without falling apart completely. Then he asked one question that changed everything. What would you do if money wasn't the reason you were scared? I didn't have an answer ready. I just told him the truth, that I used to want to study accounting before life got complicated, before a baby and a breakup rearranged every plan I'd made for myself. He hired me that same week. Not out of pity. He told me later he'd watched me work that diner for months, noticed how I never once shorted a customer, never once complained where anyone could hear, always did the math on the check faster than anyone else on staff. He said good instincts for numbers are rare, and rarer still in people who never gave up, despite every reason to. The first few months were hard in a different way. I was learning software I'd never touched, staying late to catch up on things a business degree would have taught me years ago. But for the first time, the hard felt like it was building towards something instead of just surviving another week. 6 months in, David called me into his office. I thought I was in trouble. Instead, he told me the company was expanding, and he wanted me to manage the new office downtown. A real title, a real salary, health insurance for the first time in 3 years. I cried in his office, which I apologized for immediately. He just handed me a tissue and said, "You're allowed to have things go right sometimes." That sentence stayed with me longer than almost anything else anyone has ever told me. Today, I sit in an office with my own desk, My own name on the door, a framed photo of my son laughing at the beach we finally could afford to visit. I still see David sometimes. He still orders black coffee, though now I'm usually the one buying it. Last month, I asked him why he left that card under his coffee cup that day, why he chose to help a waitress he barely knew. He said something I'll never forget. "I watched you carry more than anyone should carry alone, every single day, and never once let it show in how you treated other people. I just wanted to give the world one less person forced to be strong all by herself." My son is turning 5 next month. For his birthday, he wants a bike, not because we can barely afford one anymore, but because it's just a normal birthday wish now, from a normal happy kid whose mother finally stopped falling apart in diner aisles. Some mornings, getting his lunch ready before school, I catch myself smiling for no particular reason. Not because life is perfect, just because for the first time in years, it's actually mine again.